What was it like for you guys going into somewhere like Morgan Studios? I mean, bear in mind, this is a big recording studio, very famous.
Well, the first studio was the Roundhouse.
Which again was another very famous musical landmark.
Well, the Roundhouse was great for us because Queen, I think, we had an engineer called Ashley Howe, and I think he'd just been working with Queen on one of their albums.
Uriah Heep as well.
Yeah, I mean, so going into this, into this place, it was like
very exciting at the time.
It was like a kid going into a grotto. Brilliant, yeah. And we started recording the first album there. You see, we had this problem when we went to the studio. We were a very rocky type of band. We did we played sort of rock and roll, and the sound that RCA were looking for was more middle of the road, a little bit more poppy and
mainstream.
Yeah, that type of thing. So we had to change our style, if you like, to suit what they wanted. And which I think is apparent on the first album. If you listen to songs like Beautiful Child and B-sides like Who Told You and Daybreak, that's how we sounded naturally.
Yeah.
And then in the studio it was the songs like Wheel of Girls and
everything was softened really from what we really were.
In fact, on the new releases we've actually there are versions of some of those songs like Wheel of Girls and Love Rules which were recorded. We demoed them in the style that we thought they should have been done, which the record company at the time felt they were too hard sounding, and so we had to go back and re-record them. So for the first time, people will get to hear them on these new re-releases.
When the first single came out, which was Sunday, and as anyone will remember, the summer of 1976, it was a great time to be around, and it was a very summery sounding record. In fact, it was the best record, if you like, for the time.
She moved far away, her folks they took her there, and now it's just a one-day love affair. Oh, I don't wanna wait till Sunday, Sunday's just too far away. Oh, I don't wanna wait till Sunday, I need her love today.
You had success with it, but there was a little bit of a disappointment attached to it because
with Sunday.
With the charts. I mean, it should have been a bigger hit. Really.
Well, we still whinge about that because what happened was, and I don't think there's any harm in telling people that there was at the time the record came out. It went into the chart in England at 48, which was a big thing. I mean, I didn't realise how big a thing it was to go into the top 50, but for some reason, and I think RCA are the best people placed to answer this question, the record was taken out of the chart. Because the people that compiled the UK charts couldn't believe that a new band with no Radio 1, because Radio 1 didn't really like us, Radio 1 being the biggest radio station in the UK, they couldn't understand why it sold so well. And they accused people of hyping it, which means, manipulating the sound.
What they basically did, it was a term they used, they weighted it.
Yeah, they did, but what that meant was we lost Top of the Pops, and they put it back in the chart 2 weeks later at the same number because it was selling well because we were doing all the kids' TV shows and all that type of thing, and we did a tour of the UK as well. But by then, losing Top of the Pops was a big, downer for us, and consequently the record didn't get any higher than that. We lost it.
We actually lost the sales, apparently, didn't we?
Yeah.
The impetus,
when they took out the charts. All those sales were sort of by the by.
But I think what else annoyed people in the media was that RCA, they were doing it for all the right reasons, but they sent, for example, 75,000 flimsy discs to the Bay City Rollers fan club, or some, which I always remember the Sunday People, which is a national Sunday paper. It didn't mention the name of the band, but I always remember the headline: "Has British marketing finally come to this?"
I think the bone of contention was at the time that the record company had targeted young people I mean, these days that's a legitimate form of marketing, but in the 70s it wasn't seen like that.
It wasn't so much young people. It was the fact that they targeted another group's fan base,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I don't know whether that's true. That's what allegedly happened. I mean,
Apparently,
we don't know exactly what went on. All we know is that it lost us a hit record in the UK. But at the time, the music industry and the underground music that was happening was punk was just starting to bubble up and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And we were sort of riding the crest of a wave that was just about to end.
Crash,
yeah. But having said that, in Germany and Japan and other countries, it was still in full flow there. So the funny thing is, in the territories where, well, like Japan, for example, where Sunday was released, it came out without any big fanfare, or it was just released. No big push, as far as I'm aware, for the record. And then the next thing you know, we get a phone call saying your record's doing 100,000. It's had 100,000 advance orders in Japan, and and it was. Do you want to tour there?
I mean, how did you hear about that? Because I mean, Germany is understandable in some way because it's obviously near us. It's continental Europe. It's quite near. But Japan is thousands and thousands of miles away. That must have seemed like.
Well, we
actually,
didn't realise how big the Japanese market were, did we? We thought, I think it's the second biggest market in the world, and then Germany, and I think the UK's around about fourth. As far as sale, UK is always important with regards to the type of music that's made, but as far as selling records is concerned, I think that the UK is around fourth, or it used to be.
Yeah,
that's
right.
But I mean, I don't know. Can you remember? Well, I think we were in RCA, and somebody mentioned it. Well, next thing you know, we're doing interviews and photographs with people from Japan, and
a lot of the things behind the scenes, as Rob said, we didn't really know. We were busy recording and photographs, interviews, etc. And we'd only get like sort of bits of information, like, well, this is happening, and then the next day it'd be that's happening. All the stuff behind the scenes we didn't really know about. No, we were just.
I do remember you doing a lot of recording. There was the follow-up to Sunday, which was Beautiful Child, which was another standalone single, and then there was the first album.
Yeah.
Which the first album included Sunday, and it also included your third single, which was Love Rules.
Yeah.
But then I can't sort of see too much of a gap between that coming out and literally you were in the studios again recording the second.
There wasn't, and the reason for that is pretty straightforward. I think had it not been for the success in Japan and Germany, because we had a big hit, and Love Rules was a huge hit in Germany, top 10, I think. And we did all the front covers of all the teen magazines in Germany as well, like Bravo and big magazines as well. We did all those front covers in the UK as well.
We were on a couple of compilation albums before the Now. That's
in Germany,
music and all that. In Germany, there was a couple of compilations with Love Rules and Sunday.
There was one in particular that I haven't even got a copy, and I've been trying to find it on the internet. So if anyone's got one. But it was a German release, but that BMG had put together, and it featured obviously Buster, because we had a Al Stewart was on there with You the Cat, David Bowie,
Baccarat.
Well, I wasn't going to mention Baccarat. Good though they were, it was. Let's stick with David Bowie and Lou Reed, but we were on the same LP with these icons of the music industry, and it was like fantastic, and that was an endorsement of how successful we were over there. But that's what kept things going, even though we success eluded us in the UK. Because of the overseas success, we had to keep making records to supply those markets with new stuff, which is why, to come back to your point about the time between the first and the second album, that's why we sort of went straight back in almost immediately and tried to put, everybody had to search for songs, I mean, there's a point we need to make about the songs as well in a minute. But that played an important part in how things developed,